So now we've got the soundboard fairly clean. I'll look for dents. Oh, there's a dent right there. So I'll circle that one. I don't have too many dents. Been fairly careful. But it's also a hard top. It's a softwood. It's a Sitka spruce, but it's hard Sitka. And then there's if you look closely here, there's sort of like a fuzzy end grain sort of look. That's got to get sanded cleaner because that won't look very good when there's finish on it. So I'll just sort of circle that area. This is the kind of spot that actually pisses me off when I'm hand sanding because it takes like what seems to be an eternity. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to grab my power sander right here, and I'm going to give it a power sand for 30 seconds or whatever. See if I can get that smooth. So one of the neat things that the power sander does is it really helps bring out some of the silking in the wood, and it can make a spruce top not look just nice, but look just beautiful. So I still see a little bit of glue that's right here, and I see a little bit of dust in the end of the grain there. There's a little bit of dust there, but other than that, this area is really cleaned up nicely. Another thing that I see are these lines. These are drum sander lines still, because I use a drum sander. I don't hand thickness my tops anymore because it's 2016, man. 21st century, we've got electricity and drum sanders. And I can actually get a really consistent thickness out of my drum sander. So suppose if you're a luthier and you've got a lousy drum sander, you might not like it so much. But with the dents, I kind of wish I had more dents. I don't want to literally just put dents in the top board. So I'm going to put a couple of dents like that, and then I'll put a bigger one, like this, the pencil. So I'll steam this one out, and then what I'll do is I'll show you what we can do. The thing with the drum sander is it compresses the soundboard when you're making your guitar, and so a lot of those lines that are in your soundboard are from the drum sander squishing the wood rather than cutting the wood. So I'll do something that maybe some people don't think is proper, but I think it's pretty awesome. So take a clean paper towel, or cleanish paper towel, and then spray it down so it's a little bit moist. And this is just another way of using your guitar. Spray some water on the top. We're just about to finish, so what's this guy doing with water and spraying his entire soundboard? What a dummy. Well, iron it. Just like a person who irons. And what it does is it raises the grain. Other people will use acetone, or not acetone, methyl hydrate, and they'll try to raise the grain before they're finishing. But the cool thing is this is one way of kind of punishing your guitar a little bit just before you actually put finish on it. And it also dries the top out considerably. In some ways it's a little risky. You can crack it. You don't want to have too much heat at once. ironing the top. Ironing. Let's go back to these dents. So this one here that I smushed in with the pencil, that one's gone. There's just a little bit of the red remnant from the top of the pencil. These ones aren't as deep. And this one over here is gone. And if you feel the texture of the top, there's raised grain all over the place. So I'm just gonna put this cloth back down. There's still just a little bit of moisture in here, but not as much. I think this guy's up as well. Now the last thing you want to do is sand your guitar soundboard, your soft spruce soundboard when it is wet. That'll just make a mess. So we want to make sure that any moisture that we see that's in the top still is removed. Again, my iron's not on high, it's on sort of medium high. I don't know, it's on 4.5 out of 6.
It's on for $10.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I got this one for free. So now I'm going to feel it. You know, if you want to make sure that there's not any moisture left, feel a little bit of moisture. So if you've got a nice clean iron, you can also iron the wood directly. But again, you don't want to just let it sit there, because if you let the iron sit there, this is the kind of mark that you get. So don't do that.
Was that a build top, or were you just trying to get dents out of it?
That was a J50 that I built that had checking in the finish, and then I decided to refinish the top, but I accidentally pulled out a splinter by the bridge, so I realized I wasn't going to be able to salvage it. So now it's pretty good. Like so I'll sand all the spots where the grain is raised. The soundboard I really prefer to sand by hand. But as I was saying before, like if you want to be a little wild and give it a shot, you can sand with the power sander. The only issue is you got to be aware that if you press too hard over top of your tone bars or your X braces, you will end up showing off your braces through the soundboard. It'll be a little bit noticeable at certain angles of light when your guitar has lacquer on it. But if you don't press too hard, then you can. So I'll just take a little pause, talk about the other things I see now. So first off, I see a little bit of glue right here. And then I see a little bit of glue right along there. Go around the perimeter. And I still see, I'm going to put my fancy Walgreens on. I just there might be this little spot there. You want to just comb through your soundboard. A little bit of, it's like, it's not properly sanded there. It needs to get a little smoother. But it looks as though all the depressions that came from the drum sander are completely out now. Now there's a couple other flaws that I'd like to show you. One of them is the purfling on the outside of the rosette, on the treble side of the guitar. This black, white, black here, the interior black is kind of messed up. It looks as though when I scraped the rosette, I accidentally tore it out. But I see down below that there still is some of that black. So, you know, I could do one of two things. I could actually do one of three things. The options would be as follows. I could remove this material and I could replace it with a new piece of purfling. Or I could sand lower until it's exposed, but what would happen then is I'd have a divot on my top. Or I could tape it off and paint a little bit of black just to sort of draw your eye away from that, and it would end up being invisible. Or I could actually just acknowledge that I will be putting a pickguard on here. And the pickguard is going to cover over the outside rosette line. Now let's imagine that line wasn't there. Maybe I wouldn't have the pickguard covering that black, white, black. But because of that, I'll have it so the pickguard radius will match the pearl, or the abalone of the rosette. The next thing, there's one other spot, and it's right over here. The black, white, black on the inside of the pearl here is gone, or it's moved over, but it doesn't look proper. So what I will do, I'll actually later on, I'll take some acrylic paint, I'll tape off a little spot, and it'll be literally like, you know, 15 thousandths of an inch wide little gap. I'll put a little bit of black right there. I could probably even take a pencil and do that, but I won't use pencil. I'll use black paint. And then there's a little crevice right here. I think if I just fill that with the pore filler, I think it'll end up being invisible, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, so those are my little deficiencies. And the glue, the last thing you want to have is a guitar soundboard that looks really nice and really shiny, spick and span, and then it's got glue still in the soundboard, right by the neck. So I'll just scrape on that 45-degree angle, trying to. So that's far enough inside. Same with this. And then I'll give it a little bit of a sand. Pretty close. Last thing I want to do now is my sound hole. Santa Cruz guitars, if you ever look at a Santa Cruz, the top of the sound hole, the way it's radiused, it smooths down to a point. And I've got a few friends who got Santa Cruzes, or used to have Santa Cruzes, but now they own Hamm-tones. That pointed bottom of the radius of the hole easily gets dented because it's so thin. So then you have this sound hole that looks really cool with a bunch of dent marks around it. You know, there's the one dude who goes through just the truss rod and he bangs it, and then all of a sudden it's just this big dent. So I just radius it with sandpaper, and there's a special tool that I use for this task, and it's called a bottle. So what I'll do, tape this on. And it doesn't have to be the roughest sandpaper. I will very carefully and strategically sand the radius of my sample. And I don't know if it's easy for you to see